This video aims to showcase the Bitmap formats example. The page shown on app main will change according to which button you press. When ESD3 button is pressed, ESD3 format images will be displayed on the screen. When ESD1 button is pressed, ESD1 format images will be displayed on the screen. When ESD4 button is pressed, ESD4 format images will be displayed on the screen. This is the same for all the other buttons, which will display their corresponding format images when pressed. To add images into the project, first, click on File on the top left. Next, in the drop-down menu, click on Add to open the File Explorer. Open the folder containing the images and select the ones that you want to add to the project. After you are done selecting, click on Open and wait for the images to load into the project. Once loading is complete, open Resources under the Project menu on the left to see all the images you have loaded. To create a subfolder in the Resources folder, right-click Resources and click on New followed by Folder. Rename the newly created subfolder to ESD. After that, click on Add and add the ESD images. Select all the ESD images you have just loaded and drag and drop them into the ESD subfolder. After all the images have been loaded, we can now move on to the creation of ESD push buttons. First, delete the default ESD label. Next, click on ESD Layouts under the Library menu and drag and drop Linear Layout into First Page. Adjust the size of Linear Layout to fit the entire width of the page. Once that is done, click on Orientation under the Properties menu and change the orientation to horizontal. Next, click on Align and change the alignment to Fill Right. Lastly, click on Overflow and change the overflow to Fill. Duplicate the linear layout by copying and pasting the existing one on the page. Adjust the two linear layouts where appropriate. After aligning the two linear layouts, proceed to drag and drop ESD push button under the ESD widgets drop-down menu into the two linear layouts so that a total of 11 ESD push buttons are on the page. You can change the spacing between each of the ESD push buttons by changing the spacing value under the Properties menu for each of the two linear layouts. After all the 11 ESD push buttons are aligned properly, we will now move on to setting up the logic in the Logic Node Editor. Firstly, arrange all the ESD push buttons orderly into two columns corresponding to the two linear layouts in order to help you see and edit more clearly. You can also shift the nodes of the two linear layouts and fix position to a corner to keep things tidy. Once everything is in order, rename each of the ESD push buttons to the corresponding image formats by changing the text under the Properties menu for each of the ESD push buttons. After renaming the button, open the Logic Interface drop-down menu under the Library. Drag and drop Signal to the right side of the Load Image push button node. Change the name of the signal to pushed load image, corresponding to the button being pushed. Connect the pushed of the load image push button node to the emit of the pushed load image signal. Repeat the same steps for the rest of the remaining ESD push buttons. After you are done, zoom out of the logic node editor and check that all connections are correct. Click on the Save All icon at the top left of the screen to save your progress. You can rename First Page to Button Page to help you identify pages more easily later on. If a prompt like the one shown on the screen shows up, click Yes. After setting up Button Page, we must change the format of all of the images we have loaded into the correct format corresponding to the image's name. This is because all of the loaded images are duplicates of the original PNG format. We can change the format of an image by clicking on Format under the Properties menu. We change the format of the first image to ASC 10 by 10, corresponding to the image's name. For the second image, we change its format to ASC 10 by 5, corresponding to the image's name. Repeat these steps for the rest of the images until the format of all the images are correct. Next up is to create a total of 11 pages for each of the image format buttons on Button Page. Firstly, click on a new page at the top bar if you have already created one at the start of the project. Right-click on the newly created page under Project at the left of the screen and click on Rename to rename the page to RGB Page. If a prompt like the one shown on the screen shows up, click Yes. We will now start the design of the RGB page itself. First, drag and drop ESD label widget into RGB page. Change the text under the Properties menu to RGB. You can also change the font size by changing the value under Font. After that is done, drag and drop ESD image widget into the page. Next, click on Bitmap cell to choose your desired image that you have loaded into the project. For this example, choose the RGB 332 image. Next, drag and drop ESD label widget into the page and change the text to RGB 332. Click on Theme to change the color of the ESD label text. For this example, choose light blue. Repeat the same steps for RGB 565 to complete the RGB page. You have now completed 1 out of the 11 pages. We will create one more page to help you understand better. To begin, first, click on File, followed by New, then Page. Rename the page to Paletted Page. If a prompt like the one shown on the screen shows up, click Yes. Repeat the same steps as when you were creating the RGB page, with the key difference being selecting paletted image formats for the ESD image widgets. You are now ready to complete the remaining pages. Once you have completed all the pages, your pages should look something like this. After checking that all the pages are set up correctly, click on App Screen Page at the top bar. Next, drag and drop all the pages, except App Screen Page, from the Project menu into the Logic Node Editor. After that is done, open the App Screen Page drop-down menu in the Project menu on the left. Drag and drop all pages, except Button Page, into Switch Page to make them the children of Switch Page, in order for Switch Page to function properly. Next, drag and arrange all the nodes neatly in the Logic Node Editor to help you see and make connections more easily. After arranging, connect all the pushed signals in the Button Page node to the activate of their respective page node. After setting up all the connections correctly, change the active in the Properties menu to False by unchecking the tick for all nodes, except the Button Page and Switch Page nodes. Finally, click on the Save All icon and wait for compilation to complete. Once compilation is complete, click on App Main at the top bar. As you can see, all the buttons and pages are now complete and working. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.